As we approach the 5th year of the pandemia, it has fallen upon me to deliver to you the 3-minute explanatory apologia to the 4-decade-long serial Chang and Avoid Moon, a guide for the perplexed. I am perhaps the most perplexed. There is no way into this story, but there is no way out of it either. So, in this story, you can be killed countless times but never die. They hope desperately, year after year, for the courage to break the spell, but we're all too greedy here for anything near courage. So anyway, I am Pacablo. I seem to be alone in here, but I sense the Infanta is lurking about. Who is the Infanta, you ask? Okay, let's start there. She was adopted by my grandmother, the Contessa Isabella, after she heard her singing in the streets of Rio de Janeiro. The Infanta's age is unknown. She could be 7, she could be 40. We can see and hear her, but of course, traditionally you, the audience, cannot. Whatever. The Contessa, as most of you may not know, wrote the song Ventura Highway for the Eagles. Oh no, I mean the group America. America.
My name is Mrs. Treadwell. Oh, I mean, it's not my real name, but none of us have real names here. Before that, it was Anita. And before that, it was Beverly or something like that. You see, because we have all been assigned names and genders and jobs, etc. We don't know who we are until they tell us. But in this case, I am Mrs. Treadwell from the banking family in Berlin. In the 30s, I managed a number of swindles with Dr. Ibanez and Dr. Sebartes, which is how I ended up in this story. The Infanta? Yes, I knew her well, or I thought I did. She had a lovely estate outside of Buenos Aires. Monstrous, really, but there was an island within the estate that was covered with thousands of tiny Japanese maples. They were maples twisted and pampered over many years to become tiny, like her, and she was tiny. I am not a large person, but next to her, I was a giantess. I remember her little eyes. Even though she was looking up at you, you always had the feeling that she was looking down at you. It was a perceptual trick she used all her life. She employed dozens of tiny Japanese men to work the maple trees into submission. They would come for the season of 6 months, then get sent God only knows where, and return 6 months later. They were tiny pre-20th century Japanese men, and I watched them age over the years. The Infanta had several liaisons with these gardeners, and it's rumored that she had children with them. The last time I saw them was at the burning of her maple forest. In a fury, she had them burn it down. It burned for weeks. You must try to grasp that concept, because it was in those miniature trees that the Infanta's secret lay. Somewhere deep in the sap that harem of tiny men harvested. That tincture is what kept her alive for so many years, and all of us, and the tiny men as well. We called it Forever Amber. When she burned the forest down, the secret was lost. Or maybe not. But that's why you're here, isn't it? To find out that information? But you'll never find out. The answer is howling in the wind. I've been waterboarded with the best of them, and I haven't uttered a word. Haven't you found any of those tiny men? I heard one was still hanging out in Koreatown in L.A. Pinedo Iguchi was his name. Did you find him, perhaps? Or the Infanta? She last contacted me from Mount Ararat. She has a small bungalow there, but you'll never find it. I met Himmler there once. Hideous, way back ectomorph, but still, the Infanta is radiant. An apparition without spiritual content, but an apparition nonetheless. Did I ever drink any of that maple sap concoction? From time to time. But when the forest burned down, we were all without it. Even Lolita, Chang's first wife, had to do without. Have you seen her lately? She looks like a Baskerville hound. Are we done yet? I must go. I have an appointment at the State Department. The Infanta is trying to contact me.
Himmler visited us once at the orchard. He arrived by submarine. Dr. Sarbartez was with him. We were forced to make them a fabulous sushi smorgasbord out of raw sea turtles.
Himmler had a ham sandwich.
Okay, we put him on a submarine and sent him back to Germany.
He never forgave me, or the Infanta.
I don't care. I still had to stay working at the maple orchard forever.
I did everything I could to get you out. I told you to wait until the war was over.
And then the war was over, and another one started, and another, and another. Which war did you mean?
Why did you burn down the orchard?
The Infanta asked me to.
She would never do that.
She was in one of her magnificent rages, and no one could stop her. She made me set the first tree on fire, and then we couldn't stop it. When I was imported to Argentina, it must have been around the 1890s or so, around the time of the Russo-Japanese War. I don't know when I was born. They told me I was kidnapped from a farm in Manchuria and taken to Japan. I worked in a temple garden near Kyoto till I was 10 or so. One morning, I woke up in a boat with 100 other kids. We thought we were going to America, but we later realized we were in Argentina. Some years passed, and we worked in a camp, and we did gardening. They didn't feed us much, so we started eating the fragrant leaves of the tiny wild maple trees. We lived on those leaves, and later it became apparent that we all retained our childlike skin and tiny bodies. We didn't begin aging until much later. One day, a woman covered with diamonds came with a tiny little girl also covered in diamonds. That was the Infanta. They picked 25 of us, the smallest. We thought we were being adopted and going to Europe or America. Instead, we were taken to an island and we started planting an immense orchard of tiny maple trees. Every day, we would plant 100 trees every day for years. We weren't allowed to leave the estate.
I remember you. You whispered something to me in broken Spanish.
And that's when the Infanta hit me with a shovel.
You must forgive her.
I have never forgiven her.
Now give me the recipe for the Forever Amber tincture. I must have it.
I thought we were friends.
We are, which is why you should be a friend and give me that recipe.
I don't have it.
You are lying.
We've been friends for over 100 years, and have I ever lied to you?
You did lie to me about your initial liaison dangereuse with the Infanta.
If she found out you knew, she would have had you killed, or me, so I lied.
Give me that algorithm.
It expired with the last elder gardener.
Didn't he die of a Forever Amber overdose?
He was desperate. He was over 180 years old and couldn't bear it. The weariness, the wrinkles, the memories, the wisdom. Nothing lasts forever.
Diamonds are forever,
Forever only lasts so long.
and appearance is everything.
Forget about your body. It's only a wrapping.
I'm afraid I've invested so much in the wrapping that there's nothing left underneath.
There must be a shred of something underneath.
Well, let's have lunch.
Are you still up for the Shirley Bassey concert tonight?
Sure.
We have great seats.
I want that recipe.
Never.